that first day that I took cocaine was like the biggest thing that I ever took hold. And I remember it. I remember exactly. I was on the high street, and one of the lads we were out with, he gave me a tiny little key of cocaine, and I was bladdered, and he just put it, and I went, and I remember just being like, whoa, that was it.
So
like,
vivid.
It was like, whoa, it took everything. My whole body was like, yes. And then I loved everybody for the entire night. I was telling everyone I loved them. But within about 6 to 12 months, it went from that little key to the fact that I couldn't then go out unless I'd spent like maybe I got £200 that I'd spend a night just on cocaine. That was rapid within 12 months. Yeah. Over the years, it just progressed and progressed and progressed. I remember like one of the final binges was around about £3,000 over a weekend. It could have been more than that because I think I'd been on my own for a day before another friend came round, and we didn't like, it wasn't a party lifestyle. It was telly on mute, just sit and pass the tray kind of thing for 3 days.
How did you fund it? Because you were working in, office jobs or, working in bars.
I had no responsibilities at all. True. So I could quite easily, I'd get my whole wage, that'd be mine. Then when I was working, bear in mind the first 12 months wasn't, anybody could have sustained that as an addiction because it wasn't that much money really. But once it ramped up, I had an office job. I was a civil servant. I was also working on the doors as well. So I'd be a bouncer, and that would be like 5 to 6 nights a week. I'd have to do that
just
to be able to fund me addiction. Quite often it would be, here's your wages, who'd you owe?
Oh my God.
Take it out, pass it on. And majority of the time I might not even come home with any money because I'd owe it all out.
But that was normal.
Yeah. But then payday loans came in then, didn't they? And that was like payday loan. And I just keep ramping them up. That's how I funded it in the end. It got to a point where me and my wife, we had a house together, and we went through a bit of a breakup at one point, rightfully so. And I think I'd missed the mortgage for 3 months. So it was getting to a point where, she didn't know any of this.
She was oblivious to it all.
Because I was having to use the money elsewhere. So that's how I funded it. But I did work. I've always worked. Like even when I was a kid, I had a paper round.
Yeah.
So I've never not worked kind of thing anyway. So even with me addiction, I'd work the office 5 days a week and I'd work the doors 5 or 6 nights a week.
So you were such a functioning addict because it was both drink and, predominantly coke.
Yeah.
Like
in the end, it was more just the coke though. It got to a point where I would just dry sniff. I would prefer to just snort than drink in the end.
And sitting on your own.
Oh yeah. I'd never be around people. I couldn't. If I went out for a night out. So this wasn't a
social thing?
Nah. At the beginning it was. It was all like I said, I loved everyone. But in the end, it gripped me so quick. And I remember being in the office one day, and I think I've said this on the documentary, I have like a little calendar on my desk. And I thought, let's just mark the days when you've snorted with the orange highlight. I remember it being orange. And then I remember looking back, I was like, fuck me.
It's all orange.
It's a lot of orange going on here. And that was around, I think I might have been about 20, 21 at that point.
So subconsciously you knew you had a problem.
There was something going wrong. And that's when I ran off to Kenya.
So this is a really unique story. Because you've obviously got a documentary, we'll put links in the comment section for all of this. But I've listened to podcasts, I've watched it, and I'm like, hang on a minute. Fully functioning addict, funding your habit quite comfortably by that point because you've got no responsibilities. You've got, you didn't have your daughter then, you didn't have all of these responsibilities. And then one day the switch is flicked and you go, that's it, I'm fucking off to Kenya. I'm going to go and help other people. Like, where did that decision come from?
So I've always, because like with my auntie, I'll just jump back to my auntie who lived with us since when my mum and dad were 21. Me nan and granddad couldn't look after me auntie. She's mentally, physically disabled. So they took her on and they were their full-time carers. So when I was born, I was just brought up with my auntie. So I cared for her all the time. And that just seemed to be something natural for me. Like I loved helping and caring and looking after other people. And then it got to the point where obviously things weren't going right in my life. Nobody knew there was any issues though. People just thought I was just going to Kenya, but I was trying to run away from what was a problem back here. And I just went on the internet, Googled, found a place, and I was like, fuck it, bump, paid for a ticket, booked me flights, and within, I think, 4 weeks from deciding, I was gone.
And were you with your now wife then, girlfriend?
We was just dating at that point. So I was like, listen, I'm going.
Do you think you were, like looking back now, do you think you were probably trying to stop her from getting too involved? Like if I run away now, were you not aware of it?
I just needed to, it was kind of like, I'm still like a little bit like this now where I'll have an idea and I'm like, fuck it, I'm doing this.
Oh my God, my husband's going to listen to this and be like, he's the male you. Which is a real challenge for people, especially if they're more grounded and more, let's just have a think about it first. Your idea and run with it.
There's something that I've said recently where it is, I never ever feel like I'm at home or home, no matter where I am. So like you could move me to my dream house on a farm with animals and fruit and veg, and I probably still wouldn't feel at home. So I feel like this is something that's always been there. So the Kenya thing was like, right, let's go.
Always trying to fill a void.
Yeah. And I still don't know what the void is, but I'm trying to learn now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's more about, I've been listening to an audio book, The 4 Agreements and the 5th Agreement as well. And I feel like that's starting to make me understand a little bit more. But yeah, so Kenya happened and I just belted off to Kenya. So there was obviously no drugs there. But after about a month, I was drinking. And there was like this little hotel, which was not really a hotel. It was just like a concrete building.
Little hovel.
And you could get like a big, massive bottle of beer for about 35p. So it was easy. And I would easily drink 10 of them a day. I'd just be like...
Day to night, not just a social thing again.
At the beginning, we were like, it was all out, do the work of the families, but then it got to a point where like if we'd finish in the afternoon, let's just go there and have a drink, or let's get some drinks and bring them back to the compound with us. So I didn't get to run away from it. And this is why I always say to people, with addiction, you can't run away from it. It will. You could go anywhere in the world. If it's strong enough, you'll find a way.
And so you were in Kenya for how long?
Just over 3 months.
So you run away for 3 months, found something else to substitute it.
Yeah.
When you came back, was it immediately like, I've missed it? Did you just have a complete blowout?
It was within days. Really? I was back on it. Yeah, within days. But then I had an excuse because people seeing that I was like going off the rails a little bit. Like, oh, but he's been through a lot in Kenya, hasn't he? Like, yeah.
So they were actually enabling you?
Without them knowing.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Because don't get me wrong, the things that I seen over there was horrific.
Yeah.
But it was never a reason to go back and snort. It was an excuse, is what it was.
But at the time, it was a reason and you could justify it to yourself or to anyone else. Although you didn't really need to justify it to anyone else because there you are hiding it on your own. Like this, I find this so hard to get my head around because I'm like, in terms of, I'm an all or nothing kind of person in every area of my life. But I'm a social drinker. I think I'm officially classed as a binge drinker. I'll go out one night in a blue moon, get absolutely shit-faced, feel rough for days, and then not touch drink again for ages. Never really been the type of person to sit and drink in the house. So when people do, I'm a bit like, find that a little bit weird, but this is next level. This is consciously making sure no one is around, those closest to you and just sitting.
Yeah.
What was it that you got from it, from sitting there just,
nothing. Like, honest to God, like in the end, it was hell. Like, it was horrific. So in our house that we had first, it was like a 3-story Muse house.
Yeah.
So if I knew Jen was coming home, I would make sure that there was cocaine in the kitchen, cocaine in one of the bedrooms, and cocaine in the top bedroom.
My God.
So that whatever floor she was on, I could get to something at that point. It wasn't 7 days a week. It might be 3, 4, 5 days a week.
Which therefore made it justifiable for you because it's all right, I don't need it every day.
But if I could have got it and I could have afforded it every day, I would have. But yeah, that was like, it was always present, it was always available for me in a way. And people like me are a drug dealer's dream.
Yeah.
Because I would get it on tick. So strap, whatever you want to call it. Because they knew that they'd always get it back somehow.
And you'd do whatever it took. You'd take on a second job. You'd work your socks off.
Yeah.
And so that started 16 and then obviously gradually worsened. You mentioned 27.
Yeah.
What was the turning point? Was it a rock bottom moment? Was it a, wake up realization, an epiphany? Was it someone holding you to account?
There, just off you saying that. The rock bottom, because I know people have took the piss out of me for this before. Other addicts and stuff would be like, oh, it's not a fucking rock bottom, that. Everybody's rock bottom could be something completely different. It didn't mean that I was homeless or I was lying in my own shit and piss or nothing like that. I'd already lost me, well, she was still my girlfriend at the time, but me and Jen had split up. The baby was born. I was not getting to see her every day, and again, rightfully so, because you wouldn't want a joke of a person around your child the way I was. And I was working on the doors, and at the end of the night, everybody would have like a little half a lager or a bottle of beer or whatever. Yeah. And I asked for a shot of, I don't know if it was Sambuca. I think it was Sambuca or something like that. And I had a shot instead. And the girl behind the bar just went, "You're a fucking disgrace, you." And I was like, oh.
Oh, I've just got goosebumps.
And that, being him, I'd already snorted about 18 grams of cocaine that night.
Jesus. How are you still standing? Constitution of a horse. Yeah. Do you think that's actually just, you've become accustomed to it then? Yeah. It's become a habit.
When I started, it was about this much, but in the end, when I was snorting, you'd be putting like a 20 bag out or a gram for one line kind of thing. That's the only way I'd feel like I had anything. But when she said that to me, it was just like a bolt of lightning. And I was like, shit. I had already dabbled in going to Cocaine Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, but I never ever stuck it down. I'd go in for a couple and then I'd be like, fuck, that's not me.
Over how long was that? Like
maybe over a year.
Wow.
I dabbled to try and do it.
You were looking for help?
Yeah. I'd been dying for help for years before that. But it was literally, she said that, and the next day or on the Monday, I went to a meeting, and I went to the meeting, and rather than just going to the meeting, I went to the meeting. I was like, can I get a sponsor? Can I start the 12-step program? Let's hammer this 12-step program as fast as I can. The quicker you can get through it, the better.
Wow.
And that was one of the best journeys of my life, being able to do the 12 steps. One of the steps is you write a list of people that you've harmed, not like, it doesn't have to be physical, but emotional or anything like that. And then you've got to be willing to go and make amends to those people. Not all of those people would be willing to accept the amends, and you have to be like, okay, I've tried, I can bury that now.
Yeah.
That's not part of me anymore. Not one person said no. And I got to go out and apologise to all these people.
Which you make sound really easy, but
I had to stop for a minute there because I got a little bit. But there was one specific person, was a manager who I worked with, and I'd made her life hell for a year. But one of the other managers knew me for a long time, and she was kind of like,
people made excuses.
Saying, just keep with him. And being able to apologise to her face to face was just like, whoa.
Yeah, but that takes some guts as well.
We both just sat crying. I made an amends to the police as well. I had to admit to the police officer that I was in the wrong for doing what I'd done to him. Being told, if you make this apology, you are admitting to a crime that you've done. And I was like, I've got to, if that means I have to go to jail now, then that's part of my recovery.
Oh my God.
So the officer agreed for me to write him a letter and for me to pass it on. The letter got passed on. The police came back to me on the doors and said, he accepts your apology. Done.
Wow.
So
this shows the power of addiction in everything, because your addiction obviously created horrific scenarios. You touched upon losing your then girlfriend, who for complete clarity is now John's wife, and it's all good. But, there was a massive risk there. That should have been a turning point. You'll have people who say, your gorgeous little baby girl is born. That should be a turning point, which is why some people might say it's really weird. But everyone has their turning point. But actually, your addiction, which you'd managed to overcome in there, the addictive personality, meaning I've got to make amends with everyone, despite the fact that must have been the scariest thing in the world, knowing that it could completely change the trajectory.
But you know what? I was at a point where I was like, there's nowhere else to go here. So apologise. And what will be, will be. I mean, it wouldn't have lasted in jail. I'd have been a piece of meat. I'm very well aware of that.
You've got a very pretty face. You would have been
My pocket would have been out all the time. But,
which obviously you can laugh about, but the reality is that was a genuine, concern, and things could have gone a completely different way. Do you believe that there is something or someone looking out for you? Do you believe that you've done enough good in your life that didn't happen, or was it just sheer luck?
With regards to the police? Or
everything, with being able to walk back into the lives of your now wife and your little girl, and being able to...
I feel blessed for it. I still don't understand the whole... I feel like I'm a little bit spiritual, so I do believe that there's someone looking out for me, whether that's a person or just a higher energy.
Yeah.
Like the universe.
It's got to be something.
Kind of something's there, because I probably shouldn't be alive, or I shouldn't be in the position that I'm in today, which is a very, very blessed position.